see.
I'm going to try to zoom in. This is hopefully going to be kind of laid back. If you guys want to interject and share information, if I get anything wrong, let me know. But we're going to be talking about the history of Richmond Street Elementary School tonight. All right, so how many of you guys went to Richmond Street Elementary School? Anybody go to? Or middle school? Or junior high? How many of you taught there? I know at least 2 people taught there. Oh my gosh. So we have a lot of alumni, a lot of teachers here today. I was a student at, when it was Segundo Middle School, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later too. I have a lot of slides. I might just gloss over some of them quickly. We might spend some more time. If you think something's really interesting and you want me to hold on and we can zoom in on it and talk about it, we can do that. But I have lots of info. So this is just a brief timeline of all of our campuses in Segundo, in case you're curious. But we're going to be talking about the grammar school and Richmond Street School, which are basically the same campus. And Segundo Middle School is on that campus as well. Flip through here. So we're going to start with Segundo Grammar School. It was established in 1912. Prior to 1912, children from Segundo attended school in the Wiseburn district, which was founded in 1896. That was one of the very oldest districts in at least Southern California. There weren't that many children there before 1912, but there were a lot of workers coming into Standard Oil. So in 1911, they decided we should have our own school district because they didn't want to go all the way out to aviation. And they applied for a grammar school in 1911. In 1912, they started their first grammar school in the small kitchen of the McCabe's home. And then it's going to go on from there. I've got pictures of all of these things, and we'll go over each one of these as we get to the pictures. So here's our first notice that we're going to start a school. This was in the Los Angeles Times on December 23rd, 1911. It says, the citizens of Segundo have put in an application for a grammar school and hope to have a school of some sort by the 1st of next year. And while they're waiting for their school to be built, they met in the small kitchen of the McCabe's at the corner of Whiting and Franklin. This is a pretty famous picture. You've probably seen it around. A lot of the captions on it say it was the first schoolhouse, and I think it might have been misidentified as the one we're going to see in a few minutes. But this, I'm pretty sure, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is their home. I did a lot of cross-referencing to figure that out. So this was probably around January 1912. 13 kids meeting in the kitchen. And then, not too long after that, sometime around April, they moved to a storefront on Richmond Street, south of Franklin, while they were waiting for their schoolhouse to be built. So I don't know exactly which one. I'm not sure. All the descriptions just say south of Franklin, towards Bologna, which would be Segundo Boulevard. And I think this child was identified as a Bender reminder. It's Bender reminder. It's one of those kids. So then, everything was moving very quickly. On July 14th, 1912, in the Los Angeles Times again, we don't really have Herald archives going back this far. The Herald existed, but we've lost those issues. But going into the Los Angeles Times, says plans have been completed by Paul V. Tuttle and F.L. Hopkins of this city for a 4-room grammar school to be erected at the new Standard Oil town, Segundo. The structure, which will cost about $5,000, will be started at once and will be ready for occupancy by the beginning of the next term, which would hopefully be September, 2 months later. The building will be designed on craftsman lines and will be a frame construction above a concrete basement, the exterior being of rustic timber stained yellowish brown and trimmed with rough redwood stained seal brown. The school, though small, will be complete in every particular. And they really wanted to move in very quickly. I think they moved in when there was only 1 or 2 rooms built, and they were holding classes while they were building the other half of it. The stories get a little mixed up. So This is the original plans, the original drawings, and then we have this photo. So this is the first schoolhouse. I'm not sure when this photo was taken, but it says it opened in September of 1912 with 62 pupils enrolled. So this would be located at the corner of Richmond and Palm, right where the offices of our current Richmond Street School are right now. So this photo would be taken like standing on Richmond Street. Richmond Street would be right about here, facing northwest, facing north.
So is that,
Yeah.
what was Richmond, is that Mariposa now?
No,
Is that-
so
No, I mean, for the front of the building.
the front of the building would just be on Richmond Street.
No, but I mean, now the women's club is on
Oh,
Mariposa.
Yes.
So is that side that is on
This should
Richmond?
be the Mariposa side.
So it's still
I think.
running kind of in that same
Yeah,
east-west?
I
No,
believe
so
so.
that was north-south, now it's running east-west.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
All right, so then, the town was growing very quickly. There were lots of workers coming to work at Standard Oil, and already 2 years later, by 1914, they had run out of room in this building. They had already started building new rooms. It went from 1 room to 2 rooms to 4 rooms. It says plans have been completed by architect F.L. Hopkins of Los Angeles for the attractive new grammar school to be erected at this place. The building will be the second grade institution to be built here and is demanded by the constant growth of El Segundo's school population. The new building will be of hollow tile construction, the walls being plastered and the roof being of tile. The structure will contain 4 classrooms, a library, principals and teachers' rooms, and an auditorium. The style will be mission. The site adjoins that of the present school and comprises 2 lots. So this, we're going to see a picture of it in the next slide, but this building is going to go right next to the wooden schoolhouse, just right in the middle of the Richmond Street block. All right. Since the site adjoins, it's going to be 2 lots. The new building will cost approximately $12,000 and will provide accommodations for about 160 pupils. And here's what it looks like when it's finished. And you can see this is the ground level here. This is Richmond Street. Sorry, the mouse is kind of crazy. And it goes down the grade, so there's a second story down below. Kind of the way that Richmond Street is laid out right now. Like you have the first floor is on the ground level with Richmond, and then it goes down the hill, and you have downstairs levels. I have some pictures of the back of this coming up. So here's another photo of some kids out in front. You can see the side of the building here.
I think all the kids have shoes too.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's one. Oh, hold on. Hold on.
You know the right good enough.
This guy right there. Good eye there. All right. So then, this next picture, this one's taken from the playing fields. So like if you imagine standing on Richmond Field, like on the playing fields, looking back up towards the school, this would be the corner of Richmond and Palm. And here's that original wood frame schoolhouse here on the corner. Here is the new building right here. It's kind of shaped like a U from the backside, and I just love all these swing
I
sets.
think those swing
They're
sets
so
lasted
high.
a long time.
So
I
I've
think
got
I
a lot.
remember those same swing sets when like in the 60s.
So I'm gonna get to that part in my story later, but I hope they've been replaced at some point. But when Jared and I were both in middle school in the 90s, there was one end of the swings that were there, and they lasted a very long time. But like, look how high that slide is. It's amazing. And also you can see that the playground is not graded yet. It's just like those rolling sand dunes. And they'll grade it later in like 1930.
Wow, that's a great show.
Like, this is one of my favorite pictures. Okay, so here we go. This image was on the front page of the Herald many times throughout 1919 and 1920. These are the architectural plans for the next version of the school that was going to be built next door. We had outgrown our 2 new schoolhouses, and now we are getting really serious. And so there were plans to build this very large classical building. This would be on the corner of Richmond and Mariposa. So this street right here, this would be Richmond, and this is Mariposa going this way. And across the back, you can see Virginia, image I have with both buildings. So this front building is going to be classrooms and administrative offices, and then this one in the back is, the front half is an auditorium and gymnasium, and also the back half of the building is the original plunge. So there's a 4-lane pool, and I believe, I could be wrong, but my best guess is that this part of the building coming out this side, and there's a matching one on the other side. I'm thinking those are dressing rooms. So we're going to get to a little description about it on the next slide here. It says the 2 buildings will be handsome brick structures on concrete foundations, thoroughly modern in design, arrangement and construction, and will have all requisites of steam, heating, ventilation, and sanitation. The wall surfaces will be in tapestry brick design with terracotta inserts, and the entrance is trimmed with terracotta. The plans for the school building provide for 8 standard-sized classrooms and standard cloakrooms, teachers' closets, supply cabinets, classrooms arranged for 1 complete side windows, distributing light over the pupils' left shoulders. In addition, classrooms, there are principal's room, teacher's room, supply room, etc., etc. Down the bottom it says entrances to corridors are provided with vestibules to break heavy winds, which is really interesting because we've been putting the vestibules back into the high school and at Richmond Street, which we originally had a vestibule at the high school, and then we took it out and we just put it back in. All right, let's see if there's anything else we want to share here. The auditorium, right here, it talks about the auditorium. It says the auditorium is lighted from 3 sides and will accommodate from 450 to 500 people, and is provided with adequate stage, dressing rooms, and orchestra pit. The moving picture projecting room, this is 1920. The moving picture projecting room, there will be chair and gymnasium apparatus, etc., storage space under the stage with entrances to which will be on the swimming pool side. This was the biggest auditorium in town, and until they finished the high school in 1927, this is where they would have all of our city events anytime we needed to gather a large group of people together, because they were meeting in the grammar school auditorium. The swimming pool adjoins the auditorium at rear, all under 1 roof, and is so arranged that gymnasium pupils and adults may pass directly into dressing rooms. The general public using the plunge enter from Mariposa Street or Concord Street, may continue to bathing suit counter and dressing rooms, or go upstairs to the spectators gallery. It sounds very similar to the plunge that we have now, just a little bit smaller. And it was located in almost the exact same place, right at the dead end of Concord. Yeah, so this is the cool part. Plunge is lighted from both ends. And 1 complete side is 100 feet long and 39 feet wide. The tank itself, so this pool itself, would be 30 feet wide and 80 feet long. I've read somewhere else there was 4 lanes. There are 25 dressing rooms with showers, toilets, etc., shown for boys and equal number for girls. And then this is the really interesting part. The hot salt water for this plunge is donated by the Standard. And so Standard Oil would take in ocean water to cool their tanks, and then it would heat that water up as it was cooling the tanks. And then there was a pipe that went all the way down Concord and brought the hot water to the pool. So we're reusing and recycling. It was a really great system. And they did that for a while. Eventually the salt water started corroding things. They had to switch to fresh water. But it was a great idea. So yeah. Let's see here. I also thought this was interesting. In order to build the plunge building, it says the school board asked for the vacating of Concord Street between Palm and Mariposa in order to carry out the plans for the new school building and grounds. So I don't know if the street actually went all the way through. There might have been some structures or buildings or something in the way, but they asked anything in between to be removed, and the street might have gone through. We'll have to see if we can find any photos. All right, this photo was taken a lot later. This is from about 1930, but this is the front of that building when it was complete. And you can see it's in the same style as the high school. The precursor to the high school is probably why we did the high school in the style that it is. They were supposed to match. And you can see there's a ionic columns and a colonnade spreading all the way across the front. We already talked about these things. Yeah.
I imagine those,
Go
the
ahead.
previous picture that they probably planted vines and were going to
Yes.
make like a curve.
And it should go across to the colonnade. So this picture I would guess is probably around like 1930-ish. going back, this one is also 1930. This is from a scrapbook that the children put together from the school from 1930 and 31, a little bit closer. And then, this is from like day one. This is from November 1920, so like the first set of classes that went through. So you can see like the front hasn't been landscaped yet. Yeah, do we have another barefoot kid? Is it the same kid? It's probably the same kid. He's like, I'll sit on the end.
On the left side, there's three.
There are a couple more. Oh yeah, there's a bunch more over there. Once we get it up on the big screen, you can really see. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do the now sometimes. I think it's his glasses. Yeah, I think there's a reflection on his glasses. There we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at all those faces. And we got all different variety of clothing. We got some kids in suits. We got some kids in overalls. We got kids with no shoes. This is 1920, so this would have been the first. This would have been just months after this particular building opened. So, you would think that with all these new buildings, we would have enough space, but El Segundo is the town that must be built, and it keeps getting bigger, and more kids keep coming with all of those Standard Oil employees, and some of the other industries that are coming in. We had to build a whole nother building. So in 1922, we added a 2-story brick building, and it was put west of the wood frame schoolhouse, and it's actually at street level on West Palm. So I don't know if you can make out what's going on here, but this is Palm, and we're facing the high school. This is the sidewalk on Palm. You can see right here, you can see the wood frame schoolhouse hanging there, this little shadow. And then, if you look very, very closely, this is the bell tower. I don't know if you can see the 4 columns across the top of the bell tower there. It's not the best quality picture, but so you can orient where we're looking. So check this out. This building is on the first, this is actually the 2nd story of the building, just like the ones on Richmond Street, they go downhill. And then, let's see, let me go to the next one. This is what it would look, this is where we're facing like today. That's what it looks like right now, right? Yeah. Here's a picture of the front door. This picture was taken a lot later in the 1940s. They turned it into a recreation center, but that's the same front door. There's another picture of the front door. And that's where we would be looking today. So down below. And then this one is from the blacktop side. So you can see it has 2 stories. So you will be entering upstairs on the opposite side of this building. Does that kind of make sense? And then there was a downstairs as well. So this is from 1942. This is the best picture I can find of this building at all. But it's just like so interesting to.
So is that the building on Palm?
This is the back side of that building we were just looking at on the wall. Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
I know it's kind of hard to orient
Well, I'm
the
just
bearings.
thinking at the time.
Yeah. So they built this building in 1922.
Is that baseball?
Yeah, it says they're playing bat ball. That's some variation of maybe baseball or football or something. Looks like it's got a big dodgeball. I don't know. So then, this picture's taken from looking across Library Park. So you're looking backwards across, like they're actually digging out for the lily pond and the pergola right here in Library Park. And then this is the wood frame schoolhouse, and then this is that building on the backside. You can see the top corner of it. And then here's another angle from a little bit farther away in Library Park. You can see it in the back. It's a really large building. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings in this configuration right now. They're all like totally different. And here's a view from the bell tower. Take it from the bell tower. This is from 1931. The high school's been completed. Library Park has been landscaped. That happened in about 1930, 1931. They finished up. And then we're going to zoom in on this. So you can see all of the different pieces of this campus. guys can probably tell, like, this all looks almost exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
All the pathways in the park are the same. The gazebo would be right here in the middle. The library that we're in right now has not been built yet, but the foundation has kind of been laid out around in a rectangle.
Where was the lily pond?
The lily pond is still there. It's where our new pollinator garden is. They emptied that and drained it in the 1970s when the droughts, there were really bad droughts. The state of California said we had to turn off all of our fountains. They turned it off. Also around that time, there were a lot of kids putting soap in the fountains. And so a lot of people say, oh, we lost the fountains because we put soap in them. It was also the drought was the main reason. And there was also, I don't know if you can see it in this picture, we'll probably do one of these about Library Park later, but there is a very large cascading fountain that goes all the way from here, all the way down to almost Main Street. But we'll talk about that another time. So we've got the 1922 two-story building in the back, the 1912 wood frame schoolhouse, you got the 1914 mission-style stucco building, and the 1920 classical style building right here. The gym is in the back somewhere where we can't quite see it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. So this is the far right of that photo with the two-story brick building. You can see Palm going up the hill towards Loma Vista in the background. We're going to move to the left. We're going to move to the left. And you can still see Virginia in the back. This is where Jerry's Market would be later, which is now the corner market. It was Good Stop at one point, but that would be on this corner. And the playing fields in the back. And then we're gonna go a little farther to the left. Which one?
The house behind Jerry's Market?
Yeah, this one right here.
That house is
I
still
think
there.
it's the same one, yeah.
Looks like it.
Uh-huh. This one is still there too. This is the one with the little castle turret on lighting. Yeah. If we go back, like, we don't have time tonight, but if afterwards, if you want to go back, you can zoom in on this photo all over. You can see all the houses in the background. It's amazing. And then here's the classical building. It's kind of behind all of those trees. Kind of fun to point out, this is the church steeple of what is now the Greek Orthodox Church, but at the time it was St. Anthony's. It was originally St. Anthony's. Right. Not sure. I think the Methodist was the community church on the corner of, there was a different one on the other corner.
Started in 1914. So we just had 100. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was from.
yeah, and they built, this one was 1915.
What was the 1814 Methodist?
Yeah, it was the other building across the street. It was like where the wood shop is right now.
Yeah, we were close there. I don't know how many now.
All right, here's the same thing, but from the back side. This is from 1920. This was taken, I think, the same day as that class photo we were looking at before. So this whole panorama, we're looking, the camera person is standing probably on the playing fields, and it's 180 degrees, so imagine some corners in it. So in this top left corner is Pullman, Richmond, with the wood frame schoolhouse. In the middle is going to be Richmond and Mariposa. On the far right is going to be Mariposa and Virginia. Like I said, Jerry's Market would be right here. So this is the only photo I can find that has the whole auditorium and plunge building in it. So this is the best one I can find. It's also the only one I've seen of the back side of the classical style building. So we're going to zoom in on each one of these. So we got the left half of the photo. We're going to zoom in a little bit closer. So there's the wood frame one. They would build temporary structures and other little buildings in between all the time. I don't know exactly what this one is or when they put it in. There's swing sets. You can see big wooden swing sets here. There's another one over there. Moving to the right, here's the back side of that mission-style building with a little porch on the back. They took some class photos back there that we're going to get to soon. All right, and then here's the right half of the photo. I'm going to zoom in on the left there. So that's the back side of the classical building. And I'm pretty sure they set it up so that they could potentially add more classrooms like building farther out. It kind of looks like this might have wanted to be like an arcade, like the moat is at the high school maybe at some point. I don't know. We never got to find out. And then this is the auditorium and plunge. So based on that description that we read earlier, this left side would be the auditorium and the gymnasium. This is that part that like juts out towards us. I'm guessing that's probably dressing rooms. And then this whole area that goes down a little bit lower because we're going down the hill, that would be the plunge. So the pool would be inside this building here. And then, I think, just for fun, we got there's Richmond Field again. And then I have a couple of photos. This is inside the auditorium. So they would have those folding chairs, then they could put those all the way and they could use it as a gymnasium, indoor gym. And then facing the other direction, we've got things set up to possibly project a movie. But you can see all of the arched windows and how they line up with that other picture on the outside. Alright, and here, this one's from 1931, right after they graded the playgrounds, and it looks practically identical to how it does today. So you've got your upper blacktop here. We're facing the ocean. We're facing the ocean here. We call this Paradise Park now, right? Is that what we call the playground? But look at these lines of swings. I still, like you said, I swear that last piece of the swings was still there in the 1990s and early 2000s. Here's the big playing field. Going down, we got the 3 levels. It's almost identical.
Is the old Girl Scout house?
Not yet. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
I can't see for the trees there.
I know. Oh my gosh, but this tree right here, I think that's where they put in those steps where you can,
Yeah.
go on
Those
those.
steps.
All right, here we go. El Segundo, proud of its schools. This was written in 1929. It says, let's see, the progress of El Segundo in the last 18 years is portrayed by the history of the El Segundo schools, or it's portrayed by the history of the city schools. With classes in a one-room school building, there was little thought on the part of the first teacher, John J. Mason, and the pupils that from the mere handful of students, the system would grow so rapidly. Last year, 503 pupils were enrolled in the grammar school and 163 in the high school. These figures represent the average daily attendance, blah, 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 blah. And then it talks about how the personnel of those employed as teachers and administrators has changed from 1 teacher to 45. There are 29 teachers in the grammar school and 16 at the high school, with Superintendent C.L. Broadwater. If you've ever looked at any of the plaques around town with like the high school or anything, you'll see his name a lot. It says that since the first year of its existence, there has been maintained a night school for adults at the high school. As the early grammar school grew, the housing facilities became adequate to care for each changing condition, and we just kept adding more and more and more. All right. I'm going to skip this for right now, but there was a recollection from pioneer woman Florence Gilbert Farrell, but it's kind of long. We can go back to that another time. So here's some of the first faculty members sitting on the back of that center school there. And here's a class of 7th and 8th graders. This whole time, it went K through 8, and then I don't think I mentioned this, but you guys probably already know. But 9th through 12th grade, before the high school was built in 1927, all went to Inglewood Union High School, and they would take the streetcar. And sometimes there would be a bus. Sometimes they go in pickup trucks. But yeah, K through 8 at the grammar school until the, let's see, 1932. When was that one too? So here's just a couple more class photos. This is from 1916. We've seen this one before probably. I'm not sure which building this one's inside.
Did it go like straight from 5th grade to where we were in high school?
No, you would go K 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you go to high school. But they'd all be at like one campus. But they had all those different buildings, so that they would change around which grades were in each building. But like they put like all the kindergartners in one spot and put all the big kids on the other side, you know. Oh, there we go. This was from 1917. We got some swings in the background. I don't know if you'll notice in the center of this photo, there's a Chinese American girl, and her name is Marigold Chin, and her father was the cook at Standard Oil. they talk about her family a lot in the Herald. He would like umpire baseball games, and they would joke around and had a lot of fun. But Marigold went to school here. She's mentioned in articles like attending birthday parties with the daughter of the president of Standard Oil. And I have several of her class photos here. I think she's in this one.
Hey, Polly,
Yeah,
can you go back one picture?
Yeah.
Not that one, the one previous?
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to look at it for a second.
Oh,
Looks like the
It's
women's
the
club.
women's
Looks like the women's
Is it?
club.
Yeah.
okay. There was like some argument over whether it's from 1917 or if it's from 1928. I think it's 17 based on like the big giant hair bows. Like if you look at some of the other class photos from the teens, they're all wearing those big giant bows. But yeah.
One big load
Does
up
it look like
account.
women's club?
It's
We gotta get the
flag.
original one from upstairs. This is just a scan of like one of the postcards. So if we get the original, I can leave it.
Easy to tell by the flag.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. We count how many stars are in the flag.
No?
Yeah, if I can zoom in on the original one, you can see.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This one, that's Mariposa in the background. Right here, Mariposa. And these eucalyptus trees ran all along Mariposa. They ran all out Mariposa and also on eucalyptus. And they ended up having to take those out in the late 1920s because the root systems were just, it was worse than the ficus trees that we dealt with in the 90s. But the root systems were taking over our sewer and gas lines and water lines, and it was just making a mess of everything. So everybody was really sad. We went through that whole thing in the early 2000s when we took out all the ficus trees. We went through the exact same thing in the late 1920s. Oh, actually, in the background here, I forgot to mention, this is the corner of Concord and Mariposa, and I'm pretty sure that this is the original Christian Science reading room. It was on that corner, and then they moved that building to Standard, like right across from the Women's Club. Then they tore it down in like the late 1980s.
So
That
where's
red building.
Where's
St. Anthony's would be out of frame.
Out of frame.
And I
okay.
think I have the corner of it in one of my next pictures coming up. I might have to make this a two-part series.
So is that-
I'm not very far into this.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is the front of the classical school again. Marigold's in this picture as well. She's in 6th grade here. Unfortunately, as Marigold was going into high school, as she was leaving El Segundo, her parents decided to send her to school in China. And she was really upset about it. She actually like sent letters back home to her friends and said, I don't know anything about this. I'm an American girl. I want to come home. Yeah. Like her father was born in California. They were an American family. Yeah. So I couldn't find anything about her after that, so I couldn't find out if she came back or not. I want to keep looking into that. So this one's facing that same direction. I think this is the corner of St. Anthony's right here. And then the Christian Science reading room across the street. So this would be Mariposa, and this would be Concord. Here's some little kindergartners in 1921 being here too. We got some big 8th graders in 1928. This group of kids would go on to graduate from El Segundo High School in 1932.
when was the first El Segundo High graduating class?
29. So the school was built in 27. They had the dedication ceremony in December of 27, and they started classes on the high school campus in January of 28. So they only did one semester on the campus, and they left the seniors at Englewood because they didn't want to leave their friends and all of their activities and things. And I think that the freshman class in 26 or 27 stayed in El Segundo, didn't go to Englewood, and had class in the Women's Club building. Okay, so we're talking about 8th graders here, so this is 1928. When they built the high school in 1927, they didn't quite finish it. You can see in this picture from 1930 that we have this floating door here. And there's a building missing. The south wing is not there. And they finished that in 1932. Here it is, finished in 1932, and because of so much overcrowding, they sent all the 7th and 8th graders over to the brand new building, and that became the junior high. And they stayed there until what is now the district office, until that was built in 1953. So from 1932 to 53, this was the junior high building, and the 7th and 8th graders. At different times, they would send the 6th graders over there if they didn't have space for them. It was still considered part of the grammar school, and so they would have the same principal as the grammar school. They would just have a building over there. Kind of like when we went to middle school and we'd have classes over in that school. All right. So, that kind of ends our first section. Oh, wow, it took a long time. So now we're going to move into El Segundo Elementary School. We're going to talk about the era post-Long Beach earthquake. So on March 10th, 1933 was the Long Beach earthquake. It was a 6.4 magnitude centered offshore southeast of Long Beach. There were about 120 casualties. Absolute devastation in the Long Beach area. Schools just like ours that were made of brick, completely destroyed. We were very lucky. Our headline says, "City escapes severe earthquake damage, El Segundo not hit hard." Initial inspections showed little damage to the grammar school and the high school. A lot of times we hear rumors that all those all those buildings that we just saw were destroyed in the earthquake, and that's why we had to build a new one. They were mostly fine. Mostly fine. There were some damages. Let's see here. We got some reports. This was from the Gusher. The Gusher Spouts was the high school newspaper, and it was published in the Herald. So it says, quakes rock El Segundo schools slightly. It says, bits of plaster and a few cracks were the only damage done. El Segundo High School by the severe quake, which struck Southern California on Friday, describes what happened at the high school. Then it says, the grammar school also showed several crevices, the worst being in the west end of the Palm Avenue structure. That's the big 2-story brick building on Palm. And the west walls of the 2 wings of the main building, that's probably the classical building. The west wall of the plunge was also cracked. And then the next week they reported that the grammar school has been closed since the earthquake for repairs. The firewall is being rebuilt and the slope of the roof changed. Steel anchors are being installed and braces are being put under the roof. The balcony in the plunge is said to have prevented greater damage, and then some architects are working, putting the bricks back together. But it was not that bad. They looked at it at first and said this is fine, and they did some reconstruction. However, after the earthquake, California decided that we needed to have some very serious earthquake codes, especially for school buildings, after what happened to the schools in Long Beach. I don't know if you guys have seen photos of like Long Beach, Jordan, and all of like collapsed bricks. It was just terrible. And so they basically said that our schools would probably need to be retrofitted. So in 1934, they had like an official inspection. They were inspected for future earthquake safety. These people recommended that the stucco building, the mission style one, be vacated. They're like, you should not use that anymore. It's like fine, but if there's an earthquake, it's not going to be fine. And the wood frame schoolhouse should be dismantled and salvaged. The other structures were deemed okay. So in 1935, they tore down the mission style building. And in 1936, they looked at how much money it was going to cost to do the retrofitting. And it was also during the Depression. It was in the time of the New Deal. And there was a lot of Public Works Administration and Works Progress Administration money and labor to be had. And they did some math, and it basically turned out that it would be less expensive to tear down everything we had and build a whole new school than it would be to try to retrofit all of those old brick buildings. We were very, very proud of our high school, and so we decided to spend the money and retrofit the high school. They had to do a lot of work on that, but they said, tear down Richmond Street and start over. So, in 1936, they moved the Women's Club building over to the corner of the high school where the engineering lab, or what used to be the wood shop, is now. And the Women's Club had been looking for a clubhouse. They'd already bought some plots of land where it is right now, and they bought it and they had it moved. I have some photos of that to show in a little bit. And then they started tearing down the buildings one by one and building new ones in their place. So in 1937, the PWA, actually in 36 they built like the administration building, that'd be like the far right side of Richmond Street right now. 37, they built the kindergarten wing, and then there's nothing in between. That whole section in the middle was empty. And then in 39 is when they filled in that middle section and also built the new plunge. And then, coming up to 1944 is when they put in the daycare or the nursery school, or what you might know as the Madsen House for Girl Scouts. It was also a special education school for a while. And most recently, it was our TLC, before and after school care. That building was supposed to be it was a prefab, it was supposed to be kind of a temporary building, and they put it in 1944, and it lasted all the way until about 2019.
It's matching with Hawthorne.
Yeah, so they had a whole deal where everybody was saying, we need nursery schools, we need daycares, because the women were going to work. Because during World War II, all the women went to work, and they said, we need daycares. And so they said, they started building these prefab buildings, and they were all matching, and El Segundo was like, how do we get one? And it took them several years. They were putting in applications for starting in 1941, 42, 43, and by 44 they finally got it. So, let's see here, let's skip that. Here's the official announcement that we're building a new school in the American School Board Journal. Here's moving the Women's Club building to its new home. Right now in this picture, it's sitting on the corner of the high school lot. You can see the back of the liberal arts building, what's now the language building. So here it is in transit. You can kind of see the corner of the brand new Richmond Street School back there. Still sitting there on Mariposa. Oh, actually, this is one of the more decent pictures. You can see there's this center section, and that's what the Women's Club had the new front door put in. That's what John C. Austin, is that the architect's name? Who designed a whole new entryway to fill in that gap in between those two classrooms. And then that's the plot of land that they were going to put it on right behind the Methodist Church. It ended up there eventually, and now it looks like that.
Yeah.
So that's that front door I was talking about. Very cool. All right, and here's some pictures of the finished first part. Like I said, the building would end right here when they first built it in 1936. And you can see these really cool, I think they call it, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's called sgraffito. It's like graffito with an S on the front. And they're friezes, because you can see the pattern comes around at the top of the building. There's crenellations across the top. All of that is still there. So if you go look very closely at the school, all of that is there. In these pictures, it's painted in. I don't know what colors, obviously, but all these little pieces were painted in to make them pop and stand out. But if you go look really carefully, you can still see that it says El Segundo Elementary School right there. You'll also notice that there are 4 windows across the front. So there's 4 windows across the front, and there's 4 windows across the side here. In the 1960s, they did an addition. And if you look very carefully today, you can see a seam right here, and then there's a whole other chunk that's been added on the side. All right. Here's another picture, a little bit later, based on the size of the trees, but it looks about the same.
There's a fence up in front.
What?
Look at the fence. Is that a fence?
No, I think it's just one of the lines on the building.
Oh.
It goes right through. Does it have a special name? I don't know the name of the architecture. But they kind of match the ones in the plunge too. All right, so 1937 they started building the kindergarten wing. This is kind of an interesting picture. Imagine you're standing on Mariposa. This is Mariposa right here. And you're looking north, and there's no balcony. The balcony wing hasn't been built yet. And the kindergarten wing was shaped like a T in the beginning. So I have another picture of that. And you can still see that the plunge, the old plunge, the classical style plunge is still back there. They were still using the plunge in the auditorium as they were building all these pieces. And you can see the sign actually. The sign says PWA Federal Emergency Administration of Public Works, El Segundo Elementary School, as the project number.
So all
Yeah.
these, all the schools in Richmond were done with PWA funding, not
I
WPA.
think it's, well, based on that one sign that I just saw as PWA, I'm not sure, like, I need to dig deeper with records, I'm really interested in that. And then, like I said, the daycare, the nursery school, Madsen House, is FWA money, which was basically the same thing, but later, like, post-war. Yeah.
Where would the kids go to school while they're tearing it down and rebuilding it?
That's a good question, but I think they were building it in pieces.
No.
So the whole time they were building the FAR administration building, the brick the brick classical building was still there, and the big two-story building was there the whole time. The two-story building on the blacktop stayed until 1961 or 62. And then in 1938, they announced that they're going to build a swimming pool. That's going to be our current plunge, and they're going to add 4 classrooms in between the big building and the kindergarten wing. And here's the plunge when it's finished in 1941. Looks exactly the same, except that it's under construction right now.
When's that supposed to be done?
I think next year. I'll say next year, but I don't know. Here's some of the first swimming teams. These are from the 1942 yearbook, in the 41-42 season, since the plunge opened in 41. Looks exactly the same, right? It's not going to look the same for very long, but that's exactly how we remember it pretty much. Diving board's a little different. I missed that high dive. All
They
right.
keep the kiddie pool or they?
They're keeping the kiddie pool. The configuration is all going to be the same, but they took that big lip off, so the water's going to be flush with the ground. That's like the new filtration system situation. So here's an aerial shot from like the mid to late 1940s. So we're going to zoom in on it. So here's the school, getting even closer. So here's those 4 classrooms that they added in between. We got the new plunge. We've got the old 2-story building, and then you've got the Madsen House right there. We were mentioned in architect and engineering, so here's just a bunch more photos. This is the kindergarten wing, brand new. So like I said, it was shaped like a T. Those windows are all still there. This is the same, but we filled in this corner in the 1950s and added another classroom. And it's interesting, the wall goes across there. We expanded the playground at some point. It's all very similar. It all looks the same. There's a hallway. There's the front where it says also going to elementary school in 1936. Inside a kindergarten classroom. The last time I peeked in a window, this fireplace was still there. I talked to some kids who were in this classroom. I said, "Did you know there was a fireplace in your classroom?" They go, "No, there's no fireplace." When I peeked in the window, it was covered with posters, and they just had no idea it was a fireplace. Did you teach in any of these?
Not in that one. Always go early morning.
Oh yeah.
I slept on that floor a lot. We have naps after lunch.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Here's just some layouts. I'm kind of rushing because we are getting short on time. It's 6:48 right now. Here's a shot, another shot from the bell tower of the new buildings. And the library. The library's not done yet. This is the early mid-1940s. This is interesting. The library windows are all boarded up because they're not done yet. Took them a very long time to finish the library. It was the war years, and our workers kept getting sent off to war. Here's our, you can kind of see the fountain coming down here. I'm assuming that these are the 4 stone pines that go around, and at least 2 of them are still, I think 2 of them are still there. One's on the street side. Oh my goodness gracious, what have I done? Yeah, there we go. And this is the first Christmas tree that they put in at Library Park. It was replaced in the 50s, and then we just lost it recently, the second one. I took this picture today from, not quite the bell tower, from the Teacher's Lounge saw this one already, but these are from the 1940s. From 1942, there were summer programs through the Parks and Rec. Maurice Ward was the park director during that time, and he put on these amazing summer programs for all ages that went all the way from like kindergarten up to adults. And they took place at all the schools and all the parks. It was pre-rec park, it's 1942, so they're mostly at the schools. The sevens already.
Yeah, you can see that.
There's another dance photo from 1942. It says Marion Johnson, Dick Peterson, somebody Stevens, Ira Escobar.
Oh my God.
Ira Escobar. George Evans. Here's another one on the playground. You can see all those swings. Those swings. And here's Maurice Ward on the swings with all the kids hanging out. This is the section of the swings that I swear was still there in the 90s. This one is super fun. It's so blurry and you can hardly see it, but you can tell what it is. You got this big giant slide there, but that set of stairs is still there. You can see the corner of the plunge. There's some monkey bars. There's some teeter-totters. I posted this photo on the alumni Facebook group, and people just went crazy about it. It was so blurry and you couldn't see it. They're like, I can imagine it all in my mind. Alright, we're playing some volleyball on the middle blacktop.
So where are we looking at?
We're looking at home.
Oh,
At home. So we're on the middle blacktop, like where the basketball courts are,
Yeah.
facing home.
So that building's gone, that's where that building is.
No, the building is still upstairs. This is the
brick
middle
building
building.
is still
Yep.
there?
It's still there. So we're going down. We're on the top blacktop, now we're on the middle blacktop.
Yeah.
And then here's the lower blacktop, like where the tetherball courts were later. This set of stairs was still here until they did the most recent round of construction. They were like buried in the dirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This one is facing Mariposa. You can see those houses are still there.
It's Richmond on the left.
Yeah. Those
and
houses
alleys
on the left,
the
yeah.
alleys to the right.
Yeah. Here's Virginia. Here's the alley going up the hill towards Loma Vista. These two houses are still here. Did some more archery. Here's the staircase. That staircase is still there now. And here's New Jerry's Market. Apparently Jerry's Market used to be across the street,
Yeah,
Candy Quarters,
it's
in this
Candy
other
Quarters.
building. Yeah.
The original Jerry was across.
All right. Here's a more recent view of the Madsen House. Backside. And that was torn down in 2019 to make room for that parking lot that's there now, and a new building was put up higher, so it was replaced. But like I said, been there since 1944. It was supposed to be like a temporary thing, and it lasted all those years. All right, Richmond Street Elementary School, next era. Oh my gosh, I don't know, what time are they gonna kick us out of here? Are they gonna kick us out at 7? 8 o'clock? I'm pretty sure it's 7. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so in 1949, we opened Center Street School because we got so many kids. Because now it's the baby boom. We're in the post-war years. We opened Center Street Elementary School, and now we can't just have El Segundo Elementary School because we have two. So now we have Center Street Elementary School and Richmond Street Elementary School. Let's see here. In 1947, the Recreation Center, that 2-story brick building on the blacktop, is condemned. Whatever earthquake damage happened in 1933 and whatever happened afterwards, they condemned it. They still kept using it. They weren't supposed to, but they kept using it as a district warehouse and maintenance offices all the way up until 1962, when they opened new maintenance offices out on Penn. In 1948, overcrowding leads to the erection of 2 temporary steel frame buildings, which are called Quonset huts. Like these guys over here. Did anybody go to kindergarten in a Quonset hut? And they were put on the north side of the plunge, which is where our brand new building is now. They were later replaced in the 70s with modular classrooms, very similar to the Madsen House. But I can't believe that those were from the 70s and we just got those just now. 1949, Center Street opens. 1953, Imperial School opens. And in 1955, we start adding more classrooms again. That's where we add that new kindergarten classroom and the whole balcony wing. And then we tear down the last remaining Quonset huts still left in town. They're temporary, easy to put up buildings. They were used during the war, and then they would like move them around and sell them off afterwards. There's at least 3 or 4 still in Smoky Hollow. There's one in a private residence.
Doreen has one in her
has one.
backyard.
There's an ADU in the back. But yeah, so they had 2 of those on the campus, and the Boardroom Brewery is in a very big one. Yeah.
Did they like take down the elementary school in Imperial? Was that just a temporary reason?
That Imperial School was there from 1953 until they just tore it down when they built the new townhouses in like, was that 20 something? I have it on my slide at the beginning, but like not that long ago, like you would remember when they built it. But they stopped using it as one of our elementary schools in the 70s, and they started leasing it to other schools. It was a special education school for a long time. So here's where they put the new kindergarten classroom. So we have this T shape, and we added in this block that's still there now, and then we have this new balcony with a bunch more classrooms. I love you can see there's actually a bunch of kindergartners sitting in a circle on the playground.
What year is it?
I want to say like early 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s. In the larger picture, they're working on the new media building at the high school. All right, so here's the door. Very exciting. This is the door to the balcony, which I think, I don't remember if they took that out. Now they're putting in all new doors on that balcony and making it a lot more secure. They're doing a lot of construction in that area right now. Here's a group of 3rd graders from the 50s, the future class of 1965.
Oh my God.
Here's one of those stone pines. This one ended up being part, like inside the kindergarten playground later. They took those all out because they started dropping limbs in the 90s and 2000s to make it more safe. There's the other stone pine that was at the front door. Here's a class of 4th graders in 1963. There's my mom right there.
Which one's your mom?
On the far left in the front. See anybody else you know? Class of 72.
Alright.
We got power through. Here's some pictures from my mom's time in elementary school in Mr. Dale's class. This was, they remodeled and added on to the cafeteria, so all of this was very brand new when my mom was going to school here. So here's with the brick building gone, and it looks just the same right now today. All right, we're getting almost up to modern times here. So this is going to take us from the 70s through the 90s. In 1975, Imperial Elementary School closes due to budget cuts, and all of the kids from those schools get sent to Richmond and Center. In 1977, they started doing sound abatement in construction because the airplanes are very loud by the time it gets to be the 1970s. And they take, hold on, let me plug in. So they take all the 6th graders and they send them to the junior high. And at this time, the junior high is at where it is right now on Center Street. They built that junior high in 1965. And so that was the first time they started sending the 6th graders to that campus. It was 7th and 8th before. So they sent the 6th graders there. They got a taste of freedom with the big kids. And then in 1979, they said, never mind. The entire junior high program was eliminated due to budget cuts with Prop 13 and the Segundo decisions. We had declining enrollment because we were at the very end of the baby boom. And so we have not enough money, not enough kids. We started closing all of our campuses. And so we closed the entire junior high, and they sent all kindergarten through 7th grade kids to Richmond Street and Center. So they have the 7th graders with the kindergartners on the same campuses. And that lasts for 3 years. And during that time, the 7th graders wanted to be middle schoolers, and so they adopted their own mascot and called themselves the Warriors. In 1980, the plunge was transferred to the city of El Segundo. Actually, I'm gonna plug in. Hold on. Turn that on.
Is the strip on?
It's not. Good call. We'll give it a minute. Oh my gosh. So, what did I say, in 1980, they transferred the plunge to City of El Segundo. So it was no longer owned by the school district, and it had been being managed by the City of El Segundo since 1975. But once again, it's like there was so many budget cuts in the 70s, and they were really looking for help from the city to manage everything.
You're right at the most exciting.
I know, it's so exciting, we're almost done. I really thought I plugged that in earlier. I had so many cables going on. It's on there. It's on there. Here we go. Okay. All right. So, the 7th graders had to go back to elementary school, and until 1983. And in 1983, they had had enough of that, and they said, we gotta have a middle school. And so Richmond Street School becomes El Segundo Middle School. They take all of the elementary school kids and they put them at Center Street. There's only one elementary school. They take all the middle schoolers 6 through 8, they put them at Richmond Street School, and they rename it El Segundo Middle School. They adopt the Bulldogs as their mascot, and their colors are red and gray, just like they are today. And it lasts that way until 1999. I was part of that group. And in 1999, the middle school students go back to their campus on Center Street. During that time, you guys probably already know this, but during that time, the Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, were leasing what is now the middle school and using it as their corporate offices and their training camp. So they gave that back in 1997 after big arguments
So
over
did you grow up calling it the middle school, the junior high?
we call it the middle school. So when
Is
they
that-
made it,
Because we always say
I know.
junior
So
high.
junior high, like in this town, usually refers to when it's like 7, 8.
Right.
And then when we added 6, then we call it like 6, 7, 8, we call it middle school. Yeah.
What is it called now?
Middle school. Middle school. All right, so here's, they made their own little paper yearbook, it was very cute. And they said, this is the 3rd yearbook of the 3rd 7th grade class to graduate from Richmond Street School. Little did they know that way back in the 19-teens and 20s, we went K through 8 at Richmond Street. This is Santo Pre, he was the principal during those years, and I know he was very well liked. All right, so, I thought this was what a 7th grader sees a problem. Oh my gosh, yeah. So it says, the Executive Council of the El Segundo Teachers Association has expressed concern about the continuing presence of 7th grade students at the 2 public elementary schools in El Segundo. It says Betty Dale says the 7th graders' influence has been felt throughout the school. And Santo Pre admitted that there are more discipline problems and vandalism at the school now. But there were a lot of teachers who said everything was going just fine and we love our 7th graders very much. This whole column here is about how it's working out okay. Oh my gosh. This is written by Mrs. Morrison. Didn't read the words right. It says, remember when September 1981 began, and that meant you were in the 7th grade at Richmond, the top of the school finally. So some photos. So we were paper drive on the front lawn, climbing up the high dive, playing on the playground. And they put up these, what do we call these? It's these plaques on either side of the school that say El Segundo Middle School. And when the middle school went back to Center Street, I know, we're almost done. When the middle school went back to Center Street, they moved those with them. So these still exist, they're over on Center Street now. Yeah. There's some people we might know in these pictures. All right, we're almost done. Here's some more pictures of middle schoolers in the 80s. I think that mural was in the front hallway of the school.
The swing set's gone.
No, it's there. It's over here. It's like out of frame.
It used to go all the way down.
Right. But there was one section left. I've yet to find a picture of
Remember those
it.
two methods?
So here's some 8th graders on that 2nd level of the blacktop. Here's my 8th grade class in 1997. Where am I? I am right there.
Oh, wow.
school, and in June, I think they told them to pick up a chair and their backpack and the contents of their locker and walk to the middle school on Center Street, and they finished the year there. All right, and then this is everything 2000 to present, which we probably already know. The middle schoolers go back to Center Street. We do a full remodel of Richmond Street to basically what it is now, and we put the west side of town kids back on that campus. It's rededicated with blue butterflies as their mascot. We built some new TLC buildings. We tear down the Madsen House in 2019. We did security vestibule. And then we've got a brand new building, which is the first real full set of classrooms that's new since like the 1930s. And I'm doing the plunge renovation project right now, currently under construction. Here's some things. So this is the new TLC building. Ribbon cutting at our new building. Here's our new building. Woo! Look at that. Yeah. So that's where the Quonset huts were. We're right on the side there.
Not the modulars.
And I'll flip it around, look in the other direction. Here's some of the landscaping in the backside of those classrooms. And here's our new plunge renovation project. We just have some drawings. I have some pictures from inside, but I don't have them here right now. Well, I got one slide left, I think, and then I'll get some questions, but I think they're trying to throw us out. That's it. That's the end. All right. Questions, real quick. Yeah.
The picture of the pool.
Picture of the pool. The new one?
Are they making the water level as high as the pool?
So they took out those curbs. They ground those all out so the ground is flat. And the water level will be flush with the ground, just like it is at the Aquatic Center at Weisburg. And most modern day pools now, the water is flush.
You see what happens when they first play kids?
Yeah. So when they do that, there's grates that go around the outside, and the water is supposed to splash out. And they go back in, and that's how the filtration system works. Yeah, it works very well. All right, so this is what the new layout's gonna look like. Any other questions really quick? All right, thank you so much. All right. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Keep going back?
No, I just wanted to.
Oh,
If anybody finds it.
oh yeah. Yeah, if you guys could do me a huge favor, if you are able, if you could put a chair back on the side. If you're not, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Did you see your kid in there?
Probably. Did you see that? I saw her. I took that. Oh, which one? In the presentation. Oh, it's just. How's that?
You had your name up there. These, I think, stay right around the table.
I think we can leave the chairs here.
Yeah.
We'll leave them.
John's
If you find it, good to see you. Thank you so If you ever find it again, like, send Julie an email.
Oh, I do have that door.
Do you know what year I might have Okay. We do. I have a random assortment there. Probably too much. We did this. But I had to name it. I just not yeah. And maybe your name again. Okay. Yeah. And she used to work out at Bank.
This was the Ted stuff.
That's right.
Oh, I know.
Different group, she had them all, so she had them. Nice.
I don't know which photo you're looking for.
Go back to
Jen
your
and
slides.
Jill were over there at, when it was.
I messed up my mouse. Middle, they tried to make it bigger. I know.
So they did that over there.
Eric's going, she's got that history, and
Yeah.
then with
Yeah.
Ginger, where
But
there's
Katie was that class,
My background, like my desktop is with butterflies.
I wonder
They're
if
on
they
rotation,
time
and
like
then
the
we're
chill,
looking
so
at
you
They
it.
don't
moved
get
us
them.
from
Oh, okay.
over
Yes,
to
okay. I
office.
was looking for the
And it
picture.
was Memorial Day
It was kind
weekend.
of a
We
Bye,
moved
Carol.
from
Bye-bye.
east view, aerial, high aerial
Arena
view of the
into
whole
Richmond,
campus.
kindergarten.
Ready?
It was-
I'm gonna take this with me. Why don't we go outside?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to kick us out of here. I don't have anywhere
But
to
that, but
eat.
that's south. It was like a 1940 south.
What do you need?
Anyway, so we had to-
Oh, when? Yeah. 1912.
1912.
Yes.
Okay, at some point you said something about it opening in 1947 or something, and I thought, oh, that was the new building.
Oh, the new buildings opened at different times.
Hey, it's.
So I said in 1949.
They're giving a
So in 1949,
presentation.
they, I would assume sometime after that, they started referring to the school as
History of the building.
Richmond Street Elementary instead of El Segundo.
Not just the hotel, but the music was good.
And before that, I was like, El Segundo Grammar stuff, because it's still, oh, that's so cool.
Very hot. It's at the tail end of
Everything.
Well, if you get there like, I got your parking right for
There's a big scrapbook upstairs in the museum. It is the 1942
Can I just say you were retired?
It's got like signatures and everything. It's in a box.
Yeah, yeah. That's why El Segundo is good. No. They're not gonna put music.
I would love to chat with all of you, and I would be happy to go like outside and chat and ask questions. But I know they're trying to, they're trying to figure out things. The employees are like off shift. It's all Thank you.
Yeah, but it's always good.
It was just freezing, I had to walk over there to get away from the fans. Fans, my fan is, so I can't sit on it.
Whose bag is that?
Are you having them here?
We think we need to put the tables back.
No, just now. Okay.
So I wonder if this was actually filming. Oh, it was. Look at that.